Alright, our next question that we are going to be doing is 4.33 from OWN. So it gives us the input and the output of a stable causal linear time invariant system, and it's related by the differential equation given below. Okay, so it wants us to find the impulse response of this system. Okay, so vocabulary lesson here. Impulse response is equal to h of t. Impulse response is h of t. Okay, so it wants us to find h of t from the given differential equation, and kind of an overview before we start. To find h of t from a differential equation, you're going to first need to get y sub j omega over x of j omega, which is going to be equal to h of j omega. And simplify it. By using v substitution, and then inverse Fourier transform to give you h of t. Okay, that's kind of the overview of what we're going to do. So let me go ahead and show you how you even go about touching a differential equation. So this first part is just going to be turned into j omega squared plus 6j omega plus 8. That's going to be equal to 2. Okay? So, actually, I'll clarify more on that so you're not confused. So y sub t is going to turn into y sub j omega, okay? And then you're taking the second degree derivative, which you can then change to j omegas, all of it squared, okay? And then plus y sub t, which is big Y sub j omega, times by 6, times by, and then just d dt is just going to be equal to j omega. Okay, plus y sub t, which turns into y sub j omega, times by 8. That's going to be equal to x of t, which turns into x of j omega, times by 2. Okay, and like I said, looking at this formula right here, we need y sub j omega over x of j omega. So first, let's filter out the y sub j omega. We all did this in differential equations, so it should be pretty fresh in your head. Plus 6j omega plus 8 is equal to x of j omega times 2. Okay, so we need to get y sub j omega over x of j omega. So we need to bring this over here and bring this over here. Okay, so then that would give us y sub j omega over x of j omega. It's going to be equal to 2. Let's erase that crap because that's annoying to look at. 2 divided by j omega, all of it squared, plus 6j omega plus 8. Alright, so we have done this part. Okay, part number 1 done. Okay, bam. So now we are moving on to this part right here. Simplify by using v substitution. What I mean by that is v is going to be equal to, not some ugly squiggly line, v is going to be equal to j omega. Okay, so 2 over v squared plus 6v plus 8. Alright? V substitution, and we need to simplify this, okay? And we should all know this is going to turn into some partial fractions, a plus b over something, right? But we need to change this. Okay, so we need to what's it called? Distribute this. I don't know the name for it. I just do it. Okay, so V, and then what times what gives you 8, but adds to get 6, and that's going to be 4 and 2, plus 2, plus 4. Okay, so that's going to be your denominators for your partial fraction, V plus 2, V plus 4. Okay, so just in case some of y'all forgot on how to do this, you multiply this whole thing by V plus 2 times by V plus 4. Okay? Which will give you A times V plus, not 2, plus 4. Because the V plus 2 would cancel out right here. And then plus B times V plus 2. Because the V plus 4 would cancel out right here. Okay? Alright? So, we know that this numerator part right here has no coefficients, or not coefficients, variables. So we know that AV plus BV must equal 0, but it does equal 2, so we know that 4A plus 2B must equal 2. Alright, that's ugly. Okay, so from this, should be pretty easy to tell that A is going to be equal to negative B, A is equal to 1, B is equal to negative 1. Okay, bang, bang, bang. So you're going to plug that back in, and so your h of j omega, this is what we were finding up here, don't get confused on all that. H of j omega is now equal to 1 over b plus 2 plus, minus b plus 4. Okay, now we need to change back from v substitution, so h of j omega is equal to 1 over j omega plus 2 minus 1 over j omega minus 4. Okay, and then you look at your sheet. Easy money here. So we know that from sheet, e to the negative at times u sub t comes from 1 over a plus j omega. Okay, so this is going to be your a for this one. A1 is going to be a2. Okay, so then this is going to give us e to negative 2t u sub t minus e to the negative 4t u sub t. Okay, and this is going to be our h of t. So you're doing a Fourier transform from sheet. And you will get to the point to where you won't even have to look at the sheet. There's so many of these, you'll have it memorized, okay? So, like I said, vocabulary lesson. This is the impulse response of system. Okay? So now, what does part B want us to find here? So it wants to know the response. Okay, let me write it out before I start talking. What's response of system if x of t is equal to t e negative 2t use of t. Alright, another vocabulary lesson. What's response of system? That is meaning s, which is equal to y sub t. Okay, you have to really know what you're trying to find, and it just makes it super easy. Okay, y sub t. So a little overview before we start. Y sub t you can get from y sub j omega, and y sub j omega is equal to x of j omega times h of j omega. Okay? So we already have h of j omega. We found that bad thing up here, right here. Okay, this is h of j omega that we are going to use. Okay? And now we just have to find x of j omega, which can be easily done from the sheet. So j omega from sheet. No work really required. Sheet will tell you everything you need to know. So we know that from sheet t e to the negative at use of t is going to be equal to 1 over a plus j omega squared. So let's apply that, applying that to this, okay? I'm going to erase that arrow because it's ugly. Alright, so let's see what we're doing here. So, a, so a is going to be equal to 2, and that's going to be it. So you just plug in the number. So it's going to be 1 over 2 plus j omega, all of it squared. Okay, so now back to finding y sub j omega. It's going to be equal to x of j omega, which is 1 over 2 plus j omega squared, times h of j omega. Okay, which can be simplified to 1 over j omega plus 2 times j omega plus 4. Okay, all we're doing is multiplying these, and you're going to have to do partial fractions again, unfortunately, which I can already tell that this partial fraction is going to be super long. So I'm not going to go through the partial fraction part of it because it's just tedious and nobody wants to watch it. But I will give you the correct answers for the partial fractions so you can try to work it out and get it yourself if you think you need the practice for it, okay? So first of all, this is going to be equal to 1 over j omega plus 2 cubed j omega plus 4. Alright? So let me write this out for you. A over j omega plus 2 plus b over j omega plus 2 squared plus c over j omega plus 2 cubed plus d over j omega plus 4. Alright, like I said, just do the same thing that you did up here using v substitution. If you don't like writing the j omegas, and you'll come out with, let's see here, a is equal to 1 over 4 B equals to 1/2, negative 1/2, and C is going to be equal to 1, and D is equal to 1/4, negative 1/4. Yeah. Okay. And then, so let's circle this so we know that it's important here because we'll need it. So let's fill this in. 1/4 times 1/j omega plus 2 plus, it's going to be minus 1/2, 1/j omega plus 2 squared plus 1/j omega plus 2 cubed plus, just kidding, minus 1/4, 1/j omega plus 4. Alright, so all of these can be changed into x of t's from the sheet. So this is still y sub j omega. Okay, so y sub t, and when you look at this first one, it's going to be 1/4 times e to the negative 2t u sub t, because this part's a, okay, u sub t minus 1/2. So this one's not going to be t e to the negative 2t u sub t. That's a again. Alright, so this next one is going to be something that we haven't touched yet, but it's also on the sheet. But I'm going to write it out here for you, okay? So this bad dude right here on the sheet is going to be t to the n minus 1 over n minus 1 factorial times e to the negative 8t u sub t, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and write it out. So it's going to be t squared e to the negative 2t u sub t over 2. 3 minus 1, 2. 2 factorial is just 2. Okay, we're cooking now. And this last one is easy. 1/4 times e to the negative 4t u sub t. Alright, that is your y sub t. And let's go ahead and, wow, it doesn't get much worse than that. Let's go ahead and circle this for y'all. That is your final answer for, again, your response of the system. Response of the system is, I'm going to draw it out so you can have some type of picture. Okay, so you have h of t coming in here, you have x of t coming in here, your output is going to be y sub t, okay? So this is equal to output, this is impulse response, okay? So the impulse response is this whole box, x of t is an input, and this is an output. Okay, that's just a little picture that I use to help me realize what needs to be solved for, and then you are all golden. One thing that you do need to realize is that when you're plugging in h of j omega times x of j omega, do not use this version of h of j omega. Will get you a wrong answer most of the time. Okay, use this version right here. Use this version, okay, and it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of effort wondering why you're getting a wrong answer. Okay, so that is it for this video. I will see you